back to my channel. My name is Allison. I'm 28 years old and I post a lot of content about my personal finances, my own debt payoff journey, as well as some videos on content creation and productivity as well. Today's video is going to be another paycheck breakdown video. I enjoy making these and I feel like every time I post these videos they do the best, and I think it's just because people find it interesting, like how other people are budgeting their paychecks. Also, it helps me keep accountable and stick to my own budget. So this paycheck is from March 22nd. So I get paid bi-weekly, so I'll use this paycheck to budget anything for the next 2 weeks. First things first, I'll go over my income, and again, this is bi-weekly, so my income from my salary job was $2,274. I say salary, I get paid hourly because I'm a healthcare worker, so this does vary slightly, but it's always generally around the same amount. I had $84 left in my checking account, which is actually more than I typically have left over, so that was pretty good. That means I didn't spend like as much last week, or the last 2 weeks. Brings my total to like $2,358. Use that number to budget any expenses and bills and stuff that I have for the next 2 weeks. The thing that I'll always set aside no matter what is my rent, because obviously we need to pay our rent. I split this up between my 2 paychecks, so I actually handle the whole rent payment. Our rent is pretty cheap, it's only $850, so I handle the rent and my fiance takes care of a lot of the bills. What I'll do is save in March. From both paychecks, I'll save like half of my rent so that I can pay for it on April 1st. So this is my second paycheck. So my first paycheck, I'll save $400, and then this paycheck, I save $450. So that way, by April 1st, I have the $850 to pay my rent. Next thing that I have to save for is my school tuition payment. I'm going back to school for my master's degree, so every paycheck I've been putting away money towards that so that I don't have to take any more loans, which so far is going very, very well. I have one more tuition payment to make at the end of April. Next 2 paychecks are the last 2 I'll need to save for school, thank God. So we're almost there. We're almost done saving that money, and then that can go towards my debt. Aside $300 every paycheck for my school tuition payment. Then I put $100 into my savings right now. I'm just slowly trying to like build up a little bit of savings while I also try to tackle all these other expenses and debts that I have. But I do think it's important to have money in your savings account for emergencies and anything that comes up, because when you become an adult you realize that things come up all the time. Things with your car, things with your health, just literally anything that you could think of. Like, it's just like all of a sudden you owe $500 to for something. It's always really, really important to at least be saving some of your money. So for now, I've been saving $100 from each paycheck. Hopefully that can go up very shortly. We also want to buy a house, so we're trying to save a little bit for that, and then we're getting married in June, so hopefully after that too we'll be in a better place to just not have all these extra expenses and things coming up, and just put more money towards saving for a house. Speaking of, next I put $250 into a joint high-yield savings account that we are using specifically just for our wedding. Once we got engaged, I felt like it was really important for us to be saving money for this, because we're getting a little bit of help from my parents, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that if anything were to come up, we could pay for something ourselves. We set up this joint high-yield savings account so that we can both put money into it. It gains a little bit of interest while the money's sitting in there. So specifically in the Ally account, you can break it up into buckets. So I kind of broke it down, like each thing, what we need to pay for, how much we still owe, and then we can set little goals and be like, okay, so we're almost there. We have just like florals left to like save to pay for. So that's been super, super helpful. But I contribute $250 into that account. I put $100 into our grocery account. We both put money into this account, and it's like a separate little checking account that we're going to be using for just groceries and things around the house. Sort of been talking lately also about potentially combining all of our finances once we get married. It might be a little bit more towards like a year or two after, just because we are still both paying off like our own separate debts and stuff. So we're gonna have to wait and see like how that all plays out. I know a lot of people tend to ask me that, like what we're gonna do when we get married. Because we do have some things combined obviously right now, but I don't know. I think one, it's gonna depend on like when we buy a house, and two, when like our debts are a little more in order, because we both have student loans and we both have like a little bit of credit card debt. So it's all gonna kind of depend on some other factors. Next, I put $50 into my Roth IRA. For a little bit I had stopped putting money into this account, but I really do feel like it's important to save for your retirement as much as you can, as young as you can. So even though it's just $50, I want to get in the habit of just putting that in there. And like, I know sometimes people say to like stop investing when you have debt, but I have a pretty good like payoff plan in place, so I'm not like too worried about an extra $50 each paycheck going towards like setting myself up for the future. So that's how I feel about that. But a Roth IRA is basically a separate retirement account that you put your like already taxed money into, so that when you retire you can take the money out and it's not taxed, so, or like not taxable, if that makes sense. Next thing I'm gonna do is take a look at any subscriptions that are coming out during the next 2 weeks. So I have a list of all the things like monthly recurring expenses. So I take a look, see what's gonna come out during these next 2 weeks, and my subscriptions are $29 for the next 2 weeks, and that is my Prime membership, which is $14.99, my Spotify, which is $5.99, and then Hulu, which is $7.99. Every 2 weeks I at least pay for either cat food or cat litter, so I have to budget. I have a separate little section just for my 2 cats. During these 2 weeks I have to get cat food, and I get this on Amazon Subscribe and Save, so this stuff just gets sent to my house like every 2-3 weeks. So this time it's just cat food, and it's gonna be $50. Next, I put $100 towards our honeymoon. We have that booked already. We're just paying it off as we go. Like, you can book it and put a deposit down, and then you just pay a little bit as you go. My student loans, I did put, so it's kind of confusing. I ended up putting $300 towards my student loans, but this was only $140 were from this like paycheck, and then $160 was from money that I made from TikTok. Only $140 will come out of like the budgeted number that I mentioned before, because the other $160 I didn't include in there. But I did technically pay $300 towards my student loans. I am paying for school, and I'm also paying off my other loans from my bachelor's degree. Yeah. But I want those paid off by the end of the year, so I'm trying my very best to pay those off as quickly as I can. I put $340 towards my credit cards. I really need to get in the habit of not using my credit cards. It's really hard though. One of them is just a balance transfer card, so once that is paid off, like, I'm not gonna be using that one anymore, but again, it's at 0% interest, so balance on that is just kind of slowly going down, which is good. The other one I use for points, and also I do use that one for like my gas and stuff to get the points, and then I just pay it off immediately. But you know, things happen sometimes, and like this past weekend I had to pay $300 for my car registration and like title change and all that stuff, and so I put that on my credit card. It's just like anytime I start making progress towards it, like something comes up, and it's so frustrating. But again, that's life, and that's what it's like being an adult. Next, saved $50 for our phone bill. This is new for us. We're 28 years old, both of us, me and my fiance, and we just finally got off of our parents' phone plans. and we got our own phone plan, so I'm now gonna have to be taking into account our phone bill. And we have a bill due April 8th, so I saved $50 from this paycheck, and I'll need to save like $100 from my next paycheck for our phone bill. But the first month is a little bit more expensive because of some like fees and stuff, but our normal phone bill will be a little bit less than that. And then $50 for our payment for our couch, which should be our last, either our last payment or our second to last payment. So again, we're getting close to finishing paying off like a lot of stuff, but it's a work in progress, you know. And then I'm assuming once these things are done, there'll be something else. So add up all of those things, it comes to $2,008. Take my income, which was $2,358 minus all my expenses and bills and whatever, which was $2,008. That leaves me with $350 for the next 2 weeks. To leave myself somewhere in that range, like $300 to $400, because things do come up. And that is also money that includes like my gas money. And I leave myself, I guess, a little bit of room for like dumb purchases, like stuff on Amazon, because it does happen. And I know myself, and I know that I need to leave myself a little bit of money because I will make dumb purchases. Period is going to be $350. And then typically I budget roughly like $160 for gas because I do drive a lot for work. But unfortunately, I think this 2 weeks is going to be more expensive because I did travel to New Hampshire. I did drive a lot this past weekend after I got paid. And I've already spent like a bunch of money on gas. So unfortunately, I feel like a little bit over my typical amount for gas. But if I stick with the 160 for gas, that leaves me with like 190, like wiggle room for things that come up. But that is how I'm budgeting my paycheck as a 28-year-old who works in healthcare. Trying to just get my financial life in order. I feel like at 28 years old, I have so much to learn, and I wish that people talked a little bit more about finances more openly. That's how I budget my paycheck, and I will see you guys in the next video.